Well, welcome to the Sandton Times Podcast. It's episode 63, week 49 of 2021. And as always, if you're familiar with this podcast, you can get in touch with us at editor@sandtontimes.co.za. And you can also visit us on social media at Sandton Times and visit the website, www.sandtontimes.co.za. So welcome to all of those listening and watching. So we're doing this podcast live on Facebook and YouTube, and it's also going to be converted into a podcast that you can listen to afterwards. So if you can follow that, if you are watching or listening, you know exactly where you're at. Please feel free to interact with us during this podcast. And when I say us, I'm going to give you a little bit more insight there just now, but you can use the chat function. Send us your messages. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your thoughts, your ideas. Drop us a question, get involved in the conversation. That makes it so much more interesting. And we've got a jam-packed 90 minutes lined up for you, which I'm really excited about. And I've been asking myself the whole day, is this a podcast that we're filming, or is this a YouTube video that we're converting into a podcast? Who knows? I don't know. And well, if you know, maybe you can let me know. As always, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review or rating for this podcast, for this video, and send us your questions and comments as mentioned. Also, if you catch this episode as a podcast, I'm going to be throwing in a free bonus interview that you won't be seeing as part of this video stream. So that's just a little something to entice you to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on. You can get that on one of your platforms. Just subscribe to it. Now, I'm going to be joined by a very, very special co-host. As we go into 2022, we've been evolving this podcast. And I know there's a lot of people who are saying, listen, we haven't heard from you since August. Where have you been? That last episode you did, which was called At Gunpoint, I think a lot of people thought, well, after this incident you had, you just decided to hang up your shoes and call it quits. I have to tell you, I started my MBA, and little did I know what a circus that was going to be. That is just work on a whole different level. So I almost went like a submarine under the water and was never seen again. And got chatting to my co-host over the last couple of weeks. And she said, look, let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's reinvent this podcast. Let's do something interesting for 2022. So hence we're doing this as a video stream and as something that you can listen to. And I'm really excited to have her join me. You might know her from Miss South Africa this year, but she's done so much more. We're going to hear all about it probably over the next week or two. So let me welcome Crunovald from the Mother City. Catherine, how's it?
Hello, Alex. I'm so excited for this podcast to be doing this with you. I've wanted to do it for such a long time. We've been chatting about it for a while.
It's good to have you be part of it. And I thank you for reinvigorating all of this again. I mean, as I said, it's just been the craziest time having to juggle all these balls, and to now have a co-host for this. It's great to have that female energy. It's great to have the complete opposite side of the country adding to all of this. And it also means that we're not going to just be talking about Sandton. We're going to be talking about much broader topics, which will probably be across South Africa, across the region, maybe even some international stuff. Who knows?
I know. I can't wait. I'm going to bring a Cape Town flavor to the podcast. I'm very excited.
So, I mean, we're going to have a little bit of a delay. I think technically we're going to have to see how we do. And as I say, if you drop your comments, we'll try and field as many of those comments as possible. It's going out on Facebook and on YouTube. So we're going to try and see how we balance that out. Kat and I are going to be catching up. We've got some great interviews lined up. And actually, let me take you through what we've got lined up for this evening, so you know what you can look forward to. So you're going to remember him from that epic dashboard footage. And I don't know if you remember seeing it, Kat, but it went viral across the internet. He was driving a cash and transit vehicle, or a vehicle that was doing deliveries. He was being shot at, and he stayed cool, calm, and collected. I mean, he was like the Chuck Norris of South Africa, and literally just maneuvered this car spectacularly and ended up confronting the people that were going at him. Well, we're going to be chatting to him because he's written a book, and he's going to be joining us in the next hour. I don't know if you remember that video.
I do. What a legend. I can't wait to meet him and speak to him
and read his book. Yeah,
yes, I can't wait.
But I think he's going to have some really great tips about staying safe in South Africa. Then another person that became famous through Survivor South Africa, he's now developed this really interesting app that'll hopefully keep other people or make other people survivors in South Africa, especially survivors of gender-based violence. Such a big topic at the moment in South Africa this month. So I'm really looking forward to chatting to him. And then there's a new South African movie out called New Material. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Kat.
I haven't. I did some reading up about it earlier. It looks very, very funny. I can't wait to watch that. Have you watched it, Alex? No, I haven't seen the first one. I think I'm going to need to watch that tonight as well.
You're going to have to see
but
both.
A whole list of things now. I know, definitely.
I saw the first one, which was really great with Riyad Musa. He's come back with some people who were in the first one, and then he's got a whole bunch of new people who are joining him. But it looks like a really great watch. I mean, the South African movies have just really stepped up in terms of kind of, you know, what they're producing, the quality of what they're producing, and it's just so relatable. And then finally, there's this survey that is happening on the wild coast of South Africa that has sparked widespread protests. People are really upset about it, and we'll be chatting to someone who understands the ocean better than any of us to really get some perspective on what this means for the environment. And I think a lot of people know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the Shell survey. So I'm really looking forward to having that conversation a little bit later. And we've got some great content lined up and some great interviews that Catherine and I will be navigating for the next hour.
Yes, let's get to it. I'm excited.
Okay, cool. Just remind everybody, if you want to leave some comments, if you've got some questions, drop them in the chat box. And then also don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review or rating for this channel, for the podcast that you're listening to, whichever platform you're taking this all in. You're more than welcome to do that. And we look forward to hearing from you. But first, let's take a look at our news to go. So from the website, and when I say the website, it's the SandtonTimes.co.za. This has been an interesting story. It's probably been the biggest story on the Sandton Times this entire year. And I don't say that lightly. And it actually, to some extent, utterly amazed me at the response that this particular story had. And it's the story of Chris Catrulis. You might know him down in Cape Town. He was involved, I think, in the Cove collection. You've got the Bungalow. There's a whole bunch of different hospitality restaurants, clubs. He had a footprint in Durban as well, and obviously a massive, massive footprint in Sandton. Well, he passed away this last week, and people took to social media, politicians, celebrities, fans, family, friends. It just went viral. And just an outpouring of such shock, devastation, grief. And there's very few people that can honestly say they impacted the nightclub or the nightlife in South Africa quite like Chris did. And, he was married to a former Miss South Africa, Vanessa Carrera. They had some beautiful kids. I think they had triplets and one other child. So they've got 4 kids. He was 52 years old. He'd been in hospital for quite some time. And such a sad story in terms of, obviously, a young family, somebody who'd been very successful in their life, somebody who'd passed away at such a young age, especially during this time where we're all in such an upheaval. But it was just amazing to see how he had impacted people. And it really made me think about, kind of what we do in life. And, he ran nightclubs. He wasn't necessarily a hugely high-profile person, although he was very well known. But so many people resonated with this story. And I was really touched by the fact that he got such an incredible response. And just to say, kind of what at the end of the day do people remember about you? Is it about how you make them feel? Is it about the moments you create in their life? And obviously a lot of the moments he created were moments of joy, entertainment, party, big celebrities. But yeah, it was actually quite remarkable.
I agree. I remember at Miss South Africa, they often said, like, how do you want to be remembered? And I think that's something so important to even think about. Is it, the way you make people feel, those moments. And I know personally, I just want to be remembered by the way I make people feel and make them feel comfortable and happy. And he provided such great entertainment for so many people. Amazing.
Definitely a reality check, let me tell you. I think it really was quite remarkable.
Yeah,
the funeral was today. He was laid to rest today. Vanessa spoke at the funeral, and I must say probably some of the most well put, just beautifully written words that she'd put together. I mean, normally when you have a spouse speaking at a funeral, you wouldn't expect any less, but Vanessa just managed to capture the moment, and what she said was just so beautifully strung together and so beautifully put together, and really, really incredible. I must say, it's been a very interesting story to follow. There was a night vigil last night with candles and balloons outside of Taboo, where the staff and obviously people who worked very closely with him had a chance to also just pay their last respects. And yeah, just honestly, one of the most amazing stories of the year in terms of just the experience and having to kind of see, as I say, what impact this person has had on society. If in whatever degree. And also the fact that the clubs have been closed for almost 2 years. I mean, no one has gone to any of these clubs for almost 2 years.
Sure. Incredible.
Yeah.
What a man.
So anyway, so that was what that's the big story, and I think probably, as I say, today was the funeral, and unfortunately, right now it'll become a thing of legend right now. But we'll see how things roll out in terms of the nightlife going forward. Then another story from the website, another thing that's happening in Sandton. I know you'll probably remember this from Cape Town as well. Moët and Chandon, they lit up their golden tree in Nelson Mandela Square. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. Absolute showstopper. I mean, they've got a chandelier which has 1,400 bottles crafted over a cork floor, and you can go see this golden tree and take photos. And you can also get sort of personalized champagne bottles. You guys had that outside of the silo. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yes. I know it makes me so excited. I love Christmas. I'm getting in the Christmas spirit even at home. I've put lights up almost everywhere in my house, doing the Christmas tree. So yes, I love this golden tree. It's so beautiful. Everyone must go and see this. It's stunning.
I'm also a big Christmas person. I also enjoy a bit of festivities, even though sometimes during this period you think like, I don't know if I quite feel like it. But I must say, you have to do your bit, and you must make it as festive as possible. It's like one of the few things that we get to sort of get into the
Boney M on.
Right.
I was listening to Boney M while walking on the promenade earlier today, and it was just really getting me in the spirit. There's nothing like Boney M at Christmas time.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. I think also Mariah Carey must be sort of I don't know, wringing her hands as her songs play.
Surely.
Like endlessly.
I mean, it's iconic.
Then, anyway, so that tree's going to be up till the 3rd of January. So if you haven't seen it, go make some time to go check it out at Nelson Mandela Square. Then on a more national level, President Cyril Ramaphosa is concerned about large and indoor gatherings. And it says ENCA reports in his weekly newsletter, the president says such gatherings carry considerable risk of transmission. And he says people shouldn't wait for new rules before reducing the size of events. And Ramaphosa says he'll meet with the National Coronavirus Command Council on the way forward. Now, we're not going to be talking about the pandemic the whole hour, because I think it's crazy. If you're actually looking for news stories to talk about, I'd probably say 80 to 90% of the stories at the moment are either health-related, crime-related, or something in between. But there's not very much else that news is reporting on.
Even not news. I was sitting at a coffee shop earlier, and all I could hear was COVID around me. And I mean, we all want to hear, but something else for a change, right? It's important, but
so if you want a bit of a
balance.
Well, if you want to break for 90 minutes, just stay tuned wherever you are in the world, and you can carry on listening to this. So so that's our pandemic bit for the hour. Then this is a really cool story. So I don't know if you remember that there was a blue there was a blue San Pablo leather corner sofa which cost about 70,000 rand, which was looted in that July unrest. I don't know if you ever saw that picture of that couch.
Yes, and it even has the charging points. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's even got charging points in the couch. I think that's why it was 70,000 rand.
It must have been, because I mean, I looked at it and I thought, I don't know if I really would have paid 70,000 for it. But if you don't remember
No.
which one it was, if you're listening, if you're watching, it's sort of a strange off blue leather couch, very modern, and it ended up in, I think, some township or suburb with two people sitting on this couch. It didn't fit obviously into the house it was supposed to go to, so it was sort of on the sidewalk, 1 foot in the road, 1 foot off the road, and it looked completely out of place. And whoever had stolen it obviously realized that this was it sounded like a better idea than it was. I'm sure we've all had purchases like that where we've bought
Yeah.
something and then we get home and we realize actually this is not going to work. So this piece of looting memorabilia ended up moving around a couple of times, I believe, and then eventually they recovered it and they actually fixed it up. I don't know if it was heavily damaged, and it's now on a tour of South Africa. So if you want to go and sit on the famous, what do they call it, San Pablo couch, which costs about 70,000 rand, which was featured in many memes and went viral, well, you can go see it. It's done its Durban tour. And it's now in, it was a Clearwater Mall, and then now it's at Menlyn Park Shopping Center. And it'll be there till December the 20th. So, yeah, I don't know if that's worth a selfie, Catherine.
100%. I'm definitely going to sit on this couch when it comes to Cape Town. 100%.
Terribly
ugly. It's just worth it.
I don't know if it's coming to Cape Town. I don't know if it's coming to Cape Town. That's the thing.
I hope so.
Hang in there. Hang in there. Put in a good word.
Can't wait.
And then, yeah, but yeah, what's it called? Start a petition to have the 70,000 rand couch come onto it. Maybe they can park it off in your living room. People can come to your house and they can just sit on the couch.
I'm sure my family would love that.
I mean, you have people. And then finally, I don't know. This is another great one. Dubai is making Saturday and Sunday a weekend and introducing a 4.5-day week. So a lot of people going, well, really? Does it really matter? Well, if you haven't been to Dubai or you've never done anything in Dubai, their weekends used to be like normal weekdays. I mean, if you ever did work with people in Dubai, you'd suddenly get a phone call on a Sunday afternoon. People would say, oh, are you free for a conference call? And you'd say, well, unfortunately, it's my weekend. No. So now they're trying to, from the 1st of Jan, align Dubai with the rest of the world. So they're hoping that obviously this will improve trade because everyone else is working on this sort of Monday to Friday setup, and then they've got Saturday and Sunday off. So Dubai wants to kind of align itself, or the UAE specifically wants to align itself to global markets. Friday, being an Islamic holy day, still has the I think they finish at 11 or 11:30, so people can still go to prayer. I mean, look, nothing wrong with a 4.5 day work week. I think it should be a policy across the world, actually, because Friday afternoons we know nothing happens at the best of times, or it never used to. I don't know what it's like now that people are working from home.
True. No, I didn't even know that was the way it was in Dubai, to be honest. But I've learned something new today.
Now you know. Yeah, no, it's quite wild. So you had to always, like, if you had, I remember I had a client in Dubai way back when, and then you had to always sort of be aware that they had, so Saturday and Sunday they were working, and it was Thursday, Friday, I think they were off. So their week went their week went Sunday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday was something like that. It wasn't what we know it to be. So It became a little bit complicated.
I can imagine. No, I think this is great. It's going to make so much more sense. The rest of the world. It's bizarre that they were on their own work week there.
I mean, I suppose it's I think culturally or from a religious perspective, it kind of worked out that way, but I think they found a way to make it work. And so 1st of January, that's when it's happening. So anyway, if you just tuned in, if you started listening, so watching, this is the Sandton Times Podcast with me, Alexander, and joined by my co-host, Catherine, for the next, what is it now? We've almost got an hour to go now. And if you want to drop us a comment, to ask a question, feel free to do so in the chat box, and it'd be great to hear from you. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review or rating for this channel and for this podcast. And before we get to our first interview, Catherine, I think it'd be great to hear from you what life has been like since Miss South Africa ended. I mean, you're sort of done with that now.
I know, and I think I don't know how everyone knows how I know you, but I came onto the podcast with two of my fellow top 10 girls during Miss South Africa, right in the middle, and we had a good chat about what was going on then, and a lot has changed since I left. It was such an incredible experience. I have to say that first off. Sure, I encourage everyone that's even considering to enter. It's absolutely unbelievable, 100% life changing. I've had so many experiences and new connections because of my journey. And my whole life now, Alex, is sponsored. It's fantastic. So my hair gets done once a week and I'm getting clothes and it's just absolutely unbelievable. And I love creating content. So I'm having a blast. And I was saying to someone the other day, it's so interesting now, getting recognized and people kind of knowing who I am. And I'm in this kind of difficult position of people kind of knowing, but also not really. So I'm trying to navigate that. And it's actually been quite hard on my mental health leaving that environment because it was so extreme all the time and so much just glam. And it was constantly so fast paced. I didn't have a minute to breathe. And I was in seventh heaven the whole time from about June until October. So it's been quite difficult just getting back to normal life and washing my clothes and making my own food. And it sounds funny, but it really is such an adjustment after coming from something like that. So yeah, I've just been taking some time off. I'm going back to finish my degree in June. So I'm finishing my graphic design degree from June until November next year. So yeah, just been taking some time to recoup and regenerate.
And it's not just the stuff that was happening, that we all got to see. I mean, it's, it's not just sort of those 2 or 3 appearances on stage and the odd interview that you did or whatever. I mean, there's a hell of a lot that happens behind the scenes in terms of personal development, training, coaching.
Completely.
I mean, just give people a sense of they're going to say, oh, I'm going to enter now and then I have to be on stage for 2 hours and then that's it. I mean, there's more to it.
You know what? I think people don't have any idea what goes into it. And I think all my close family and friends can see how much I've grown since I entered in May. I honestly feel like a completely new person. And the best part about it is that I know my worth. And I think that's something so important to figure out, especially at my age. I'm 23. I'm a woman. I need to know this kind of stuff. And it really did help me realize that. But I think, sure. I mean, an average day while you're in the hotel in Miss South Africa, it starts at about 6. There's never a day off. So you get your hair and makeup, you do your hair and makeup, you pick your outfit for the day, which I absolutely love doing. It's a chance to get dressed up, wear heels. It's fantastic. And then we go to breakfast and it's a fully jam-packed day until about 9 p.m. And then I used to prep for 2 hours before I go to bed. So I'd read up about current events. I'd formulate opinions on important topics because you just don't know what you're going to be asked. I mean, there's many times where we'd be at an event and ENCA News would be there and they'd ask me a question about something quite intense. And, you need to have an opinion. That's what Miss South Africa is about, is having an opinion on a public platform. So yeah, I do prep every single night. And then I'd go to bed sleep for 6 hours and then do it all again. And I loved it, believe it or not. So yeah, a lot of prep goes into it. When I wasn't in the hotel, so we'd go between the hotel, then we'd come back home for a bit. I was prepping about 6 hours a day, which sounds crazy. And a lot of people probably like, what? But I'd entered 3 times and I was determined to put absolutely everything I could into it. And then if it was my time to win, it was my time. Or if it wasn't, it also wasn't my time. So I think, I didn't win, but I have peace in that fact because I put so much hard work into it. So yeah, it was a lot of prep to say the least.
3 times. So are you saying that the first 2 times you didn't get into the first lot at all? Or had you gotten into it before?
So the first time I made the top 30, which I was actually shocked about because I didn't really prep for it. I kind of just entered in hopes that I'd make it. And I've always wanted to enter since I was really, really small. And then I flew to Joburg and I did interviews and I didn't make it further. And I was absolutely heartbroken, to be honest, because I'd built up this huge dream in my head, and I got there and I realized that I'd not prepped enough at all. I was young. I was 19. I think that's a bit too young to enter, in my opinion. Well, it was for me. And then last year I entered, I didn't make it at all. And then this year I made the top 10. So it's quite incredible how it all worked out that way.
It's the luck of the draw, and I suppose it also depends on who you grouped in with. And like you said, there's a lot of personal development. I think it was Rolene Strauss. She didn't win the first time round. She came back, I think, once or twice to then end up winning and becoming Miss World, which is also just unbelievable. So I think, a lot of people often don't realize that what it takes to get there. I mean, there are the odd stories that do make it the first time round, but it's not always like that.
I think, you know what? They know when it's the right time for you. And at the time in the first year, I really didn't understand why I didn't make it. I was so frustrated. And I remember saying to the CEO, Steph, I was so glad she didn't take me on 2 years ago and then last year, because I just wasn't ready. I was in a relationship and I was kind of focused. My focus was everywhere. Whereas this year I was so focused, and it was just the perfect time. And on the night after the crowning, Pia, who was a Miss Universe previously, said to me she entered 4 times before she made her country's pageant, and then she entered Miss Universe. So it does take time, and I think I'm going to enter again. It's just a matter of if its timing's right, And they did say you would never want to steal someone else's destiny, and I think that's so true. What's planned out for us, we can't help that. So yeah, I'm going to enter again, I think.
You're going to do it again?
I think so. I'm really determined. I really think it's I don't want to say my calling, but I really think it's for me, and I want to use my voice and really make a change. And that's the best way I know how right now.
Well, there's an exclusive. There you have it, first time. Catherine will be entering Miss South Africa again. You heard it here first. Listen, Catherine, good luck. Okay, might not be next year.
Yes, just to say, no, I don't think it's going to be next year, but I've got a few years to enter still. 4 years, to be exact.
Great. Now, tell me, one thing I was wondering about, when I saw you on stage, you'd made it to the top 5. Is that right? If I remember correctly.
No, I didn't. I was,
top 10.
Alex, it was, yes, top 10. So on the night, they picked the top 5, and sure, it's not easy standing up there and then not making the top 5. I think so many people watching it. I had people in the audience that were supporting me, and for that moment, I was like, this is where it shows whether I'm a queen in inverted commas or not, which sounds, you know what I mean. I hope you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
It's how you respond in those moments where you're slightly humiliated or embarrassed or whatever the case may be. And you know what? I was so happy. So my roommate, Moratwe, she made it into the top 3. And the whole time, all I was thinking was, I'm so glad she's made it, honestly. And I can say that from the bottom of my heart, and I'm so truthful about it. So that's kind of, in that moment, that's all I was thinking about. And I'd had the time of my life on that stage. Oh, I was living my dream. So it was an experience.
You're talking about all the great stuff that you're doing right now, and also obviously the feedback you're getting and stuff. People are sending you, pants and shoes and honey and whatever else people send you. But that doesn't just come because you were on Miss South Africa. I mean, there's also a bit of work, a bit of brand building, a bit of something that you also have to put into it. I mean, it's not like everyone's just going to enter Miss South Africa, make the top 50 and be like, okay, I'm going to live a life of abundance of things being sent to me in the post.
No, completely. And I hope everyone realizes that all these brands kind of see how you interact with people, how you respond in those specific moments, like not making it into the top 5. It's how you respond. And a lot of brands want someone that's going to represent them well and be a walking representation. So, if I'm sponsored by a brand, wherever I go, people are going to associate that brand with me. Well, that's the ideal. So it's kind of, you have to know your worth, respect yourself, be nice, be friendly, have a good energy. That's another thing I've learned. You just got to be a nice person, and you get so many things from being a nice person, and it all comes back to you. And
but
sometimes it takes
let's be honest. I mean, there's days where you really just don't feel like having long conversations with people, or taking the 15th selfie at the Pick and Pay, or or getting all dolled up just to go buy a lemon at the spa. I mean, you get those days. I mean, it can't be perfect all the time, surely.
You know what? Because it's been my dream since I was 4 years old, I love it so much. And I'm a very honest person. I don't go to the shops. I'm in my pajamas half the time, in my tracksuit. My hair's wet. That's me. And I think people either love it or they hate it. And I said to myself in the beginning, I just want to be honest. I want to post no makeup selfies. I want to have wine with my friends, all these kinds of things that are normal for someone my age. I'm going to do, and I'm going to be that representation, and I want to be relatable and make my social media relatable. I think it's so important. So that's kind of, what I do. I don't wear makeup every day. I don't do my hair every day. Yeah, I love it that way, because I can't keep up an appearance forever, One can. Eventually it gets tiring.
Well, Catherine, I think we're still going to discover quite a bit more about you. We still got a lot more to chat about, but I think our next guest is about to join us. He's about to enter our studio space here, which is really exciting. Yeah, and I told you about him earlier on, Leo Prinsloo. He's the author of a book now called Leo's Guide to Not Becoming a Statistic. And Leo was in the police force for 17 years. He started straight after school, believe it or not. And he served as a station policeman for 5 years. And in 1992, he applied for Special Task Force training, which always sounds more exciting than I think it probably is. It's probably a really rough job. I mean, I've seen some of these videos. Yeah. I don't think I'd make it past the registration form. I think the special levels are insane. Mental. No, I mean, it's more than, one of those, hit classes. I mean, it's really just on another level. Anyway, he's done some incredible things. He's the special forces in South Africa for the police service were the country's equivalent to the United States SEALs or the British SAS, just to give you an idea. So you needed to complete 9 months of basic training just to get into this unit, which would have probably finished me off before I even got started. And anyway, so he became really well known in South Africa after this epic attempted heist shooting at a vehicle that he was driving. And he's going to tell us a little bit more about it just now. So let me get Leon on for us to talk about this. Leon, how's it going? I think the signal's not quite with us yet, Leon. I think you're gonna have to.
I'm gonna move a bit. Just hang on with me.
It's almost like we need a South African survival guide to load shedding and cell phone signals as well. I think that'll be the follow-on.
Yes. I need that.
The follow-on book that I need to read as well. Yeah.
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 Not really better.
I think if you stay in one spot, maybe we get a good connection.
How's that now?
I think we can get you now. If you can hear us, we can kind of hear you.
Let me check one more time, and then we can get from there. Sorry about this. Platform is very, very remote, and signal is not the best out here.
No problem. You see, we get guests from all over. We're getting people from, the smallest towns, the furthest places. I mean, places that MTN and Vodacom and all these guys are still need to still explore. Yeah, it's actually they're on horseback right now with the router, trying to set up another antenna. You got us there, Leo?
That looks a bit better.
Can you hear me now? No?
Yeah. You're still breaking up quite a bit, Leo.
All right, let me see.
I think try and log out and log back in again, and then we'll try and connect with you again.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, cool. So there you go, Leo Prinsloo. He's going to try and make this work. See, Catherine, this is how it works. This is now when you start doing podcasts live, you start dealing with these kind of things.
It's just a little bump in the road, nothing we can't handle.
Hey, look at you, hey? Cool comment collectors, all that Miss South Africa training. Almost like it's like special forces training for the beauty pageant industry.
No, literally. I mean, I had never spoken in public before. Well, in huge crowds. And the one day we were at a high tea, and suddenly it was, oh, girls, you're each going to speak for 5 minutes. But out of the blue. So there was no preparation. And there was all these women at this high tea. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I need to now say something that actually impacts everybody and have like some sort of order in my head. So it's definitely helped with keeping calm, just taking things easy. You know what I mean? It's a good skill to learn because it's not easy. Sometimes I used to get rashes on my chest at school, orals and all that. So it definitely helped.
Sounds dramatic. I'm convinced that drama should be a stock standard as part of your curriculum. I did drama at school because I enjoyed drama, but I think the skills it equips you with in terms of speaking, in terms of being comfortable in front of an audience, I mean, in terms of having a presence and projecting and sort of just those basic skills, you're going to need it if you're in corporate. I mean, if you're running a company, if you're the head of a department, you can't be sitting in the corner sort of mumbling a little story together. No. It's just not going to work. And I think to have drama as part of the curriculum, I'd rather have that than a lot of other subjects in high school, quite honestly.
Me too.
So, did you do drama?
Think you can also... No, I actually didn't, but I've been doing TV commercials with my modeling agency for a while. And it's kind of, I mean, there's been castings where the one day I was doing a Ray-Bans casting and it was for a lot of money. So I was like, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get this commercial. And they said, here's a sweets packet. You need to sing the contents of the sweets. So all the ingredients I had to sing. And now these are words with letters that shouldn't be next to each other. And I had no idea what was going on, but I was belting out these huge, huge words. So I've definitely learned to just go for it. And I personally, I'm sure you feel the same, love watching people on TV that are expressive and, that use their voices and their hands and all that kind of stuff. So I'm all for it. I would love drama as a subject. I should have done it. But I can see that you've done it.
One of my favorite things when I sometimes watch TV shows or commercials or movies, and I do this because I know I've been there. I've done some of these things, is to watch they call them, I think they call them background artists now. They used to call them extras. It's that guy who sits in the table in the back and drinks sort of like his fake tea, or he's having sort of a play conversation on Seven Delan or whatever it is. And it's always great to see the ones who are going the extra mile to make their part that is sort of somewhere in the distance. The main actor's in front, he is somewhere in the back there having his conversation. And they're really getting into it. Like, they're turning this into sort of a Shakespearean play of some sort whilst they're actually saying nothing. I mean, you're not allowed to actually talk. You actually just mouth and sort of go, ha, 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 and have these sort of like very sort of mime artist kind of conversations. But those are the ones to watch. Those are great.
I know. I love those. I love the people that do that kind of stuff. And even when I go to castings, it's the people that really put the effort in that I feel do the best. It's embarrassing not putting in the effort. I love watching the people that dance and sing and look like idiots. It's fantastic.
One of the things I've realized with castings, talking about castings, is you have to go there with a set product ready to go. Most of the commercials that I've done, most of the movies I've done, TV shows I've done, you for people who don't know this, I mean, now we're talking sort of industry talk, and some people are sitting there going, well, I've never been to any of these things, so what does it mean? You get a briefing from your agent. So if you've got an agency, they'll send you a brief and they'll say, look, we've got this fantastic commercial, and it's for a washing powder or for a yogurt or whatever. This is the scene. Here's some script. If there's script, then you already know there's some acting involved. If there's no script, well, then you're going to be lining up with a whole bunch of models, because this is just about looks and not necessarily about any sort of, presentation. So you go there with a bit of a script, and you obviously rehearse the script. You get a number. You have to fill out a form. They call you in, and then you have to do this thing. And most of the time, some people just rock up whatever they were doing that day. So if they were, playing golf that morning, or if they were driving around doing shopping, and then they've got this casting at 1:30 in the afternoon, they just rock up in whatever they're in. And I found that if you actually go there and you really make an effort to dress the part, look the part, maybe add in something quirky, most of the creative directors, I think they sit and go through all these videos and they go, that's the guy. That's the guy. That's he looks. Because so often the parts I've gotten, the guy will come back to me and say, you know that tie you wore for the audition? Please bring that tie and that suit and that shirt and the shoes and the socks and the whole thing. And you end up bringing your own clothes to this commercial.
You just,
that's my secret to success.
You pardon?
That's my secret to the success of television.
I know. No, I agree, because you need to stand out. I mean, there's so many people. It could be like one of 500. And imagine clicking through all those people. It's like next, and there's something that catches their eye about you that they love. Maybe wearing something quirky or
no, you have to make that effort. You like you say. I mean, they can probably have dozens of redheads that are X height and are from Cape Town, and then how do you even begin to really, especially if there's no script, especially if it's one of those things where you just have to pull something out of a box and just put it on your head or whatever, and that's it. Like those perfume ads where they just go Provence.
Yeah. Like my dream. They get paid millions and they just say one word and just look into the camera. But I feel like it's probably easier said than done here.
It is, yeah. Unfortunately, it's 1 in a million. Some guys get lucky, and once again, you also get those ads where they're looking for that one person. They know exactly what they're looking for, and if you're not
nothing you can do to change that.
Nothing. Yeah, you can buy a lottery. It's like buying a lottery ticket. You literally just go, you do the audition, and you hope for the best, and that's all you can do.
The amount of castings I've been to in my life. And you only get every maybe 20th one or even 50th one. But that's the name of the game. And I think that's why you get paid a lot for these things, is because the chances of getting it are so slim. And there's so many good people in Cape Town. People that are good in front of the camera, people that can speak well. So it's I lost you for a second, but I'm back.
Yeah, Catherine, I don't know what's going on there. It's like, I don't know, the Atlantic seaboard has just shifted and your internet connection has just gotten like really unstable.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Are we back?
Okay, it's so interesting doing this live because normally we do the podcast. It's sort of just audio. It's pre-recorded. Quite a bit of editing that goes into it to obviously take out sort of the ums and ahs and all that bits and bobs. So you get sort of like a really good listening experience, which we'll still do with this podcast. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you're getting sort of the unfiltered raw version of what this thing looks
natural. Yeah.
That's right. And I mean, we look fabulous, raw and natural on screen. So,
I mean, I'm probably like pausing with my face, but I mean, that's fine.
It's fine. It'll just be on the internet for eternity. So whilst we're chatting, let me just remind everybody, if you want to send us a question, if you've got any comments, please feel free to post a comment, send us your thoughts, send us your questions. Please don't be shy. It's always great to hear from you, and it just adds to the conversation. I mean, we're busy waiting for Leo to try and reconnect. I know he had a bit of a bad connection there. And it'd be good to hear from him. I think if not, we're going to have to just get him another day, unfortunately. But that would also be, I mean, for someone in that business, sort of like, a gun-wielding, SAS-trained chat another day sounds like a really good title for a movie.
I want like fitness tips from him or something, because, oh my gosh, you must be so fit to do that. Can you imagine?
Yeah, no, wild. I mean, it must just be, I mean, if you've seen some of these videos of some of this military training, it is just, I mean, I can't even imagine it. I mean, the lack of sleep would be something that would probably eventually get to me.
I also want to know how he keeps his mind focused all the time and all that kind of stuff, because it's definitely a mental game. It all comes down to the strength of your mind in those instances. So I'd love to hear about that. But I mean, it's definitely there's next week, the week after, if he can't log back on.
Okay. I think he's about to pop on here again. I see he's popped up on my dashboard here. Let me see if we can get Leo. And let me see if we can still slot him into our chat this evening. Let's have a look if the connection's better. Leo, can you hear us now?
Catherine, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yay.
I think, yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I think we can. I think if you can hear us.
Catherine, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Leo. Welcome.
Oh, fantastic. That's been a bit of a run around.
Yeah, Leo, tell us a little bit more about your book that you've written now.
Where's Alex now?
Okay, Catherine, I think you're gonna have to ask the questions.
Hello, Leo. Can you hear me? Ooh.
I can hear you.
Okay, please tell us about the book that you've written. We're so excited to hear about this all. We've been speaking about you while you've been in absence. So now we're going to please join us in this conversation. Tell us a bit about your book.
Yeah, this has been a bit of a bizarre episode in my life this last couple of months. If it wasn't for Tracy McDonald that contacted me and said she think it was a good idea to write a book, it probably wouldn't have happened. So she's the one that twisted my arm to do it. So the book is all about trying to assist people and trying to get them to know what it takes to be a little bit effective or more effective crime-wise out there. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there with regards to self-defense and security and all of that. And the book is aimed at the normal person on the street, like anybody that has a willingness or a need to protect themselves, which is everybody in the country for basic. And just to give them a couple of tips and see if that will assist them in being more safe. In a country like we live in, where crime is a little bit of a bizarre issue, I think everybody needs to dig in their heels and take the responsibility for their own safety.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be looking at this. I need to learn about all this kind of stuff. It's so important. Thank you. And then I wanted to know, please tell us about that famous video that made you so famous across South Africa. I want to hear a bit more about that one. I'm sure that was an interesting situation to be in.
Yeah, again, that's not my day-to-day job that I did that day. I helped a friend of mine out, which has a company that does escorting duties and so forth. So we were just escorting valuable assets, cell phones, like everybody know. We didn't transport any cash or had merchandise in our vehicle per se. We were just the escort vehicle. So they started like any day else or any other day. So you always need to expect those type of things, because if you wait for it to happen and then try to figure out what you're going to do, it's going to be a little bit too late. You need to be in this type of environment, expecting the worst every second. In order for you to do that, you need to know what to look out for, how to prepare your day and your mind and your body and everything like that, because everything plays a role at the end of the day. So we started moving, and literally 20 minutes into the day, the shots came in. So I had a very short day on the job that day. So after that 2.5 minutes of chaos on the highway, my day was over and done with.
Wow. That sounds, I can imagine. That video is hectic. If anyone's listening and hasn't watched it, go and watch it on YouTube. It's quite something to witness. Leo, we wanted to know, where can we buy your book? Because I need to read this book. I need to learn something about safety in South Africa specifically.
So there's a lot of bookstores. Exclusive Books is one of them. Unfortunately, I don't have a list in front of me now, but there's a whole list of bookstores that have it. You can also buy it online, and I Take a Lot has got it. You can buy the e-version or the e-book. So
Amazing.
pretty much on all the electronic platforms, you might find it, and then in definitely exclusive books has got it.
Awesome. Thank you, Leo. Because our connection isn't that great, I'm going to have to leave it at that. But thank you so much for making the time to join us this evening. Very, very exciting about
Sorry
your
for
new
the late.
releases. Oh, no worries. It happens. It happens. I think COVID's taught us to just adjust in all different situations, no matter what happens. So that was Leo from Leo's Guide to Not Becoming a Statistic. So thank you, Leo, for joining us. Have a good evening.
Yeah, man, Leo
And we
Prinsloo.
got
Thanks,
Alex.
Catherine. You had to jump in there. I don't know what happened to my audio. I don't know why Leo couldn't hear me, but anyway,
No, all good.
you handled
All
that beautifully. First day on the
Thank
job,
you.
and you're right in there. That's fantastic.
First day on the job.
Well, I mean, almost like Leo's situation, except that you're not driving around in a vehicle that's being shot at. I mean, that's
Can you
sounds
imagine?
like it just
Can't
sounds like the
imagine
most
that ending
horrendous
very
thing
well.
to have to deal with. Oh no. Listen, I
Yeah.
don't think I'd be as cool, calm, and collected as he was. But
Maybe.
special forces and all, I think he did really well. We've got another guest lined up that we're chatting about. We spoke about him earlier on. He's brought out this really interesting new app and talk about having to survive and go through absolute hell. SAS training and all. I don't know if it's quite the same, if it's worse. He might be able to tell us. But Rob Bentele, Rob.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good.
Long time no see, Alex, Catherine. How you guys
Robert.
keeping?
It's been well.
Good.
Yeah,
How
good.
are you?
Oh, highly exhausted, sleep deprived, but I'm all right. How are you guys doing?
Yeah,
I
guess
so excited about this app. Sorry, Alex. Sorry, I'm jumping straight into it. I'm so excited about this app as a woman in South Africa. Wow. I can't wait to hear about this.
Oh, no, I'm glad you like it. You know, it's very hard to work on something for 1 year secretly and then wonder the entire time how people are going to perceive this, how women especially going to take this. And yeah, just hearing those words, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, Catherine.
Oh, my pleasure.
You know, when Rob said he was sleep deprived and he's been, he doesn't know what's happened. I felt like he was on Survivor again, but he developing an app. So that now we know what the real story is. Rob, take us through this app because we've got a bit of a sense of it. It's called Iris. You launched it last week. You had a fantastic kickoff. You've got some really high-profile people involved. Catherine mentioned or touched on it briefly that this is an app that is specifically designed for women. I'm sure there's also a couple of men that could probably make use of this as well, because I think gender-based violence is not necessarily just a one-way conversation. It's probably also a two-way conversation, but you can probably give us some more details on that.
Okay, no, most definitely. I'll dive straight into it. So look, Iris was initially intended to be there for our primary users, which was the vulnerable individuals in South Africa. This is your men, women. Sorry. This is your women, children, and LGBTQ plus community, people living with albinism. What's happening to them right now is nothing short of a hate crime, and that's what we specifically designed it for. But while we started working on it and we started incorporating technology that's never ever been used in the field of security, we realized that this is actually broader than just GBV. As serious as a problem that it is, the president labeled the second pandemic in South Africa, but this speaks to the bigger problem of South Africans don't feel safe. End of story. That is how serious this is. And we realize that this is what we've just hit. We've hit on something that will keep people safe at all times using highly innovative technology. It's world first. I mean, Iris is internationally patented. It's never been seen anywhere else on earth. And we're just proud that it came from South Africa, the epicenter of this pandemic of crime and GBV.
So how does this app work, Rob? Just give us a run through. I mean, there's so many apps on the App Store, and there might be some that might say, look, we can do this, but we can't do that. what makes this app so unique? Just take us through. We're going to download it, and then what happens?
Yeah. Okay. Firstly, look, it's not ready for download. What we did was a business media launch to inform them exactly what's happening. Private sector, government, NGOs, media. This was to let them know this is what's coming. And the official launch date is 13th of February, the day before Valentine's Day. And yes, we chose that date very carefully. But what Iris does is basically it incorporates live streaming technology into security. And this happens various ways. We've got green, amber, red, and blue. As we all know, green is safety, safe and sound. Amber is caution, alert. So what Iris does when you push it into amber, and you can do this by simply shaking your phone. So it's an app you download on your phone. Once you installed, registered, this is what it does. Green, safe and sound. Amber means you're cautious and you just have to shake your phone. And then what it does, it starts live streaming your audio in real time. The second it happens, Iris hears it. And it leaves your phone. It's not localized. Evidence or data is not. Just saw some. You guys still there?
Rob, we can hear you again. Sorry, I think you dropped off there for a second, but
Okay.
we can hear you again.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, cool. So the key here is that evidence is not localized on your phone. The perpetrator knows, anyone knows, if you film me or record me, just take your phone away and destroy it. But no, Iris live streams it by simply shaking your phone, very discreet. Audio at the very least now leaves your phone and it starts leaving breadcrumbs to your location. So come hell or high rain, we heard what happened to you. This is ideal for you sitting in an Uber and this guy's talking to you funny. People who are being sexually harassed at work, shake your phone. People who are being bullied at school, shake your phone. Even that spouse that comes back home after heavy nights drinking and beats you, shake your phone. At the very least, we'll hear it. Now, this is evidence capturing at its best. But if that doesn't, if you want to escalate the situation, push it to red. What red then does is that it switches on your camera and it now starts live streaming video evidence to the cloud. Not only that, it alerts your pre-assigned guardians in real time that this is what's happening to you. And this is your location. And they see the footage as if they were in the room with you while it's going to the secure cloud. Again, first of its type in the world. By pressing one button, you've simultaneously sent out your location, you've alerted your guardians, you're capturing evidence in real time. That's all happening. Now, this should and would deter most sane people. Because it's happening in real time. You could unfortunately, you could actually snatch the phone away from this woman in time, destroy it. The next day she's found in a suitcase, which is what happens. But at the very least now, Iris will speak for you beyond the grave. And the more people we put behind bars using this technology, the less there are left of them out there that are going to hurt our loved ones. But again, if red doesn't deter someone, you simply push it to blue. Blue now continues live streaming as it was to your guardians to the cloud in real time, sent out your location, but now it dispatches private security. Again, think of it as the Uber of private security. Iris knows your location and knows the location of the nearest private security vehicle, matching the two with the closest response time. That's how we get an average of 5 to 8 minutes response time countrywide. In fact, urban cities, 5 to 8 minutes response time. Obviously, the more you move out, unfortunately, the response time gets a bit more latent. But at the very least, we know our network is within 5 to 8 minutes proximity of close to 80% of the country's population because we focused in densely populated areas.
And Rob, how is this? Who pays for this? I mean, how do you subscribe to Iris? Is it free? Is it sponsored? How does that work?
Okay, so there's three tiers to this. There's individuals who can pay for Iris on their own accord. Iris will be 59 Rand a month per individual. And again, this is for the premium version of Iris. Iris is free to download for the entire country. Modes green, amber, red, which is more than enough to put people behind bars, are for free. We are allowing the country to flood our server all day, all night, because we know that evidence can and will be used in court to prosecute people. It's irrefutable, tangible evidence. It's raw. It was uncontaminated, uncorrupted, because it went straight to the cloud. So that will put people behind bars. We are giving that away for free to the entire country. What is at a price is your mode Blue. Blue now involves the private security dispatch, which, as you can imagine, is not cheap. Blue mode is also accompanied by a few more features thereafter. Once you've obviously unlocked the full potential of Iris, Iris is able to take things a step further, which brings in my check-in feature. So we thought to ourselves, look, what we've just created is good enough, but we can make it even better. Women are being roofied, when they go out at night. People, they're being jumped, they're being bounded, they're being kidnapped, they're being put in the boots of cars. Things happen so fast you won't even see it coming. So we've created what's called a check-in feature. A check-in feature is you telling Iris that during these hours you will be vulnerable. This is where you will be. For example, Catherine goes out on a Friday night with the ladies. They're having fun, having a couple of drinks, the usual. We know how easy it is for you to get roofied, drugged, separated from your friends, and become in a compromising position. Now, Iris checks in on you at the frequencies of your choosing, maybe every 15 minutes, every half an hour, every 45 minutes, every hour. I think the maximum check-in is 6 hours, if I'm not mistaken. It checks in on you at the frequencies of your choosing. Now, all it is, it's Iris saying, are you okay? But it's requesting for you to put in your unique password. Put in that password, Iris stands down. It's very discreet, no one will notice it. But if something happens and you don't put in that check-in code, Iris knows potentially you are in danger. This is why we call it an automated algorithm, because now it's just sensing that there might be something wrong with Catherine, for example. And it then goes to Catherine's closest friends, her pre-assigned guardians, says, hey, Catherine's potentially in trouble. Please reach out to her. Can you get a hold of her? Come 5 minutes, or your guardians can't get a hold of you. Iris knows something could be wrong. Now it reveals your location, shows them, okay, this is where she is right now. Is she safe? If not, and they feel this is not kosher, they can remotely trigger Blue on your behalf. They can actually send private security to your location, which means even if your daughter is studying in UCT and you live in Joburg, you can get private security to her location in real time, average response time 5 to 8 minutes. This is what we're allowing you to do. You can see the location, but sure enough, you might be too far away to do anything about it. But you can remotely access, which means if they are unconscious, if they are whatever's going on, help is en route automatically without even pressing a button. And the final feature we decided to throw in there was a dead man trigger, which it's basically you telling Iris when you're highly vulnerable. All you do, you put your finger on the screen of the phone, it's a button. It's ideal for when you're walking out of the office, late at night, you're the only one left and your car's on the other side of the road, or a delivery man coming to your house and you're home alone. Those highly vulnerable situations, you just put your finger on the screen of the phone. You can keep it there as long as you want, 10 seconds, half an hour, you choose. But the moment you let go of your finger, it starts a 10-second countdown. And if you don't put your unique code in there within those 10 seconds, Iris goes straight from green to blue in real time, which means without you pressing a single button, you just drop your phone. If someone jumps you, let go of your phone. Within 10 seconds, in fact, you know that Iris will be live audio and video streaming. Your guardians will be seeing this in real time. Your location's being shared to them, as well as private security is en route. And all you do is let go of your phone. That is the kind of technology we want to give to this country, and we can't wait for it to go live.
Sure, Rob, that sounds absolutely insane. Catherine, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm like shook. I literally have goosebumps, but no, that is so great because, I'm always out and about and I'm constantly watching, saying, Mama gotcha, Mama, blah, blah, blah. It's exhausting, to be honest. So it just adds an extra bit of protection, which is so needed in South Africa. So needed for both men and women, but more women. So thank you. That is incredible. Sure, Rob. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, I can't wait either, Catherine. I just want women to feel safe now.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, South Africa is definitely where we start in terms of this is the epicenter. We are South Africans who made it proudly for South Africans, but we already have boots on the ground in London, for example, Kenya, for example, South America, for example, who are ready to respond to Iris's calls. So we are gearing up for an international, taking it through there because it's internationally patented. and no one else has figured this out. Trust me, we did our homework on this. I mean, Iris even speaks with wearable technology, which we have seen before. But even if your phone is too far away and its battery's dead or it's been taken away too fast, literally a button which has its own GPS, battery, and SIM card operates independently from the phone. Battery life is 2 to 3 years.
Wonder.
Yeah,
That's
we've done
really
it.
great.
It's there. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
Obviously, your phone can get taken and stuff, but that's really great. Wow.
we'll find
Amazing,
it.
Rob.
Thank
Rob,
you, Alex.
looking forward to seeing this this operate in action. So next year, 2022, 13th of February is when this all goes live, and I think it'll be quite fascinating to see this how it works. I mean, to see this sort of working in action. I think Catherine, we must check this out once it's up and running again. So thanks for making the time to chat to us this evening.
Nothing but a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks,
Alex,
Rob. That's
Catherine,
amazing.
beautiful seeing you again. Alex, I remember our last one went very well. Beautiful interview. And thank you so much for having me back again.
Good to have you on again, Rob. We're definitely going to chat again. Have a good one. And geez, Catherine, that sounds quite amazing. I think that is going to be quite some technology, I must tell you. I think I've got a lot more questions than we could have fitted into that time. But
I've been waiting for
for
something like this. I think he must come back once it's all up and running in like a month, in like March or something, and see how it goes.
Give us like a demo. Yeah. Give us like a rundown. How does it work? All of that stuff. By the way, Catherine, some comments coming in saying you're fabulous. Nothing about me, but people think you're fabulous. So that's great.
Thank you.
At least we walked away with something. And loving the energy as well, which is good. So if you've got a comment, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please feel free to leave us a comment and
I'm joking.
I don't know, say something nice about me and be part of the conversation. Now, we were chatting about this earlier on, Catherine. New movie that's come out, new material. I watched the first one, and now the second one's out. Looks like it's got a really great cast, and I'm thrilled that we're going to be joined by one of the cast members. Rajesh Gopi, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Rajesh is on the line, and we're going to bring him into our studio space here to chat to us. Rajesh, good evening to you. I think you muted yourself, Rajesh.
I think. How's that?
There we go.
Now
Hello.
we can hear you. Yeah, Rajesh, good evening. Hello.
Good evening.
And thanks for joining us this evening, Rajesh. Tell us a little bit more about this new movie, New Material.
New Material is the sequel to the movie that you said you watched, the first one, Material. And I think that was shot and was released in 2012, and it was a pretty big hit, I think. And we South Africans were very proud of that film. And so what, like 11 years on? No, I'm sorry, not 11 years on, 9 years on. Counting. Riyadh and Craig have come up with a sequel, and that's just opened in the cinemas on the 26th of November. And it's a very interesting film because it doesn't really take off where you think it does in terms of like like the next year. It's a few years later, and the main character Riyadh has a daughter now and is growing up, but he still lives in the parents' house. And the dynamics of that relationship, and he wants to be a bigger star where stand-up comedy is concerned, and that's when the film kind of takes off. And my character, and I wasn't in the first film, my character comes in as an antagonist, a really interesting kind of antagonist that sponsors Riyadh, but then has absolutely a hidden agenda. Now I can't say any more because that would give the film away, right?
Well, I mean, I think from what I remember seeing, sort of in the teaser trailer, is that you run sort of a fast food chicken business or something that sponsors this entire tour. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I'm Mr. Chicken. That's all I can say. I have a joke for you. That wasn't the joke.
Oh, okay.
I have a joke for you. So, what does one chicken say to the other chicken when they have a fight?
Catherine?
I'm so bad at jokes. Alex, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me. Alex, I'm bringing it back to you. Alex?
Okay, Rajesh, we both don't know. Tell us.
I'll clock you up.
Oh, wow.
I know, it's really
Love
dope. I know that.
it's been a long day. It's been a long one. Does this joke?
Actually, I'm giving you a little hint about the kind of character I play in this film.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit worried. It's it sounds great. Now, listen, Material. I actually can't believe it's been that many years since that movie came out. It was a great movie. I mean, I was saying to Catherine early on, we were saying that some of the incredible stuff that's coming out of South Africa in terms of movies, if it's Afrikaans, if it's keeping up with the Kandasamis, there's some fantastic stuff on Netflix. I just watched this Blood and Water series. It's just really great. Maybe it's because we can relate to the content, because we kind of know the places, we know the humor, but it's just so multicultural, so I don't know. It's just something that you don't necessarily get out of. It's gotten so bad that I'm actually struggling to watch a lot of American stuff right now, because I just feel like it's just very artificial in some way. Like, it just doesn't feel like it resonates.
I think what happens, and I think it's the trend in world cinema, is that we've been sold so much of like big movies. We see so much of American culture that as the world changes and as social media has made us more immediate in the world, we have a sense that we're tired of that. We don't see ourselves in American high school films anymore. It's a bit boring. It's like when I switch on to a channel, I go, no man, click, 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 click. I want to look for something authentic. I want to look for something that I can identify with, that speaks to me. So the movies that you're talking about, does bring that up. It brings and I'm phrasing it, I say this is the movie genre of identity politics, where you see yourself in the subject, you see yourself in the film, and you're not just seeing Brad Pitt. There are local heroes, there are local heroines that, all our mothers don't look like Meryl Streep, and some of them are actually black with curly hair and live in a township, and we can still see them as heroines. So we're in that era now, and New Material is definitely part of that genre of films. I mean, I was in the first Kandasamy movie, and that was a phenomenal takeoff for the South African sort of Indian narrative. And it's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, but the point is that film was successful because the first time a really important part of South African society saw themselves in mainstream cinema. And they went, yay, can we have more of this? Right? And then it's created a pathway. And movies are a way of us falling in love with ourselves. So you only falling in love with the South Africanness of us. And that's local, it's us, that our quirkiness, our comedy, our tragedy is now part of cinema, and on a mass scale that people are watching all over the world.
Well, we certainly couldn't have the world end with South Africa only ever being known for The Gods Must Be Crazy, or oh shucks, it's Schuster. So I'm so glad we finally moved on and gotten some really good stuff onto our cinema screens, and stuff that you can actually take anywhere in the world. I mean, look at the biggest TV series right now is coming out of South Korea. I mean, who would have thought? Somebody that doesn't look like me. I mean, I can't relate to it all, but it's unbelievable how multicultural things have gotten in a really good way.
I think we've finally really matured into a... Sorry, you were saying?
No, go ahead, Rajesh.
I think we've finally matured into being truly curious. We look beyond our own rabbit hole and like to really look across and see what other people are doing. And I think we're also fed up with the kind of, again, the Hollywood and the big stories. We want to know what's in the East. I want to know what's in Indonesia. Indonesia makes some of the best action films in the world, but we never get to see it, right? Because they don't own the market. But look at the kind of films that they do in Indonesia, even the Thai action films. Hollywood's got nothing on it. So we've got this gaze, this kind of autonomous gaze of looking beyond ourselves now, which is really exciting. And look, I mean, now in the past, we've kind of, because of apartheid, we had a look into just one community. Now that all communities can look at each other through cinema. And with Material in particular, because Riyadh's story is based in a Muslim family, there's so much, we as people, as a world, we have so many prejudices around stereotypes because of how it's sold to us, and it's based on our fears of other people, and therefore we latch onto stereotypes. Whereas Material is a movie that's about people. It's a movie, yes, deeply set in a Muslim family, but they are people. They're real people. They got real problems. and that's the beauty of the story. It's in the specific that the universal is released. And that's what you're talking about. I mean, what people drinking in South Korea that they can come up with such amazing stories? I want to go to South Korea. I don't want to learn movie making in Hollywood. I want to learn movie making in South Korea, because that's truly genius out there, truly innovative. So I think our curiosity from the West is now shifting, maybe,
Yeah. No, I think it just goes to show that a good story, no matter in what language it is or where it is in the world, will always carry so much more weight than just throwing a whole bunch of CGI effects and good makeup and lighting at it. Rajesh, where can people catch the movie? Is it in cinemas at the moment? Will it go into streaming? I don't know what platforms you go. I don't even know if you still do DVDs at all or VHS tapes. I mean, does it eventually sort of end up somewhere? I mean, if you don't catch it at the cinemas?
In Pirates, you'll find at Fordsburg, on DVD. Blank Pirates. This movie for South Africans, it's running in the cinema right now. It's in all major cinema houses across the country and every province, so you can get to see it. It's really worth going and watching it on the big screen. For those abroad, they just had an international streaming a week where you could watch the film through a streaming device for a fee if you lived abroad, and I think that was very successful. And it will run for a couple of more weeks in the cinema. And I saw the movie 3 times now. Twice, sorry. The two premieres, Joburg and Durban. And I really love this film. It's so character driven. And if I had to say to you, the listeners, it's a story of friendship. And it's a story of that tug of war between individual endeavor and family. All of us suffer that. When do we put ourselves above family, and what decisions do we make? What choices do we make? And in the end of the day, what matters? Going and succeeding on your own and having a lonely life, or finding a balance with your family. And this is what this film does to the T.
Well, you're performing alongside a great cast. I mean, you've got Skalk Poseidonhout, you've got Riyad Musa, many other well-known names in South African cinema and television screens. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this. I must be honest. I mean, I saw material. I can't believe it's that long time ago. Really looking forward to seeing this. And Rajesh Gopi, I really appreciate you making the time to chat to us this evening and for being part of this YouTube video and podcast.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. It's very special, and thank you to introduce me to this platform as well. Love it. I love how it works.
Fantastic, man. Great. Well, good to have you on, and thanks so much for making the time. So,
Catherine, nice. Lovely to meet you, Catherine. Lovely to meet you, Alexander.
Excited to watch this.
Yeah, something for us to watch now over December. I think it's a great time to do that. I can't believe it's already 10 to 9. It's unbelievable. Like we're at this time.
It has flown. Actually, it was light earlier. Now it's pitch dark outside. So yes.
I thought halfway through we might have had to start pulling the Monopoly board out and sort of do something else until we get to the sun. But here we are. And so Catherine, our last interview for this episode, also really interesting, something that I'm also very passionate about is the ocean. I don't know if you feel like that as well, but I had sort of a revelation when I went to Mauritius a couple of years back. Did some snorkeling. I'm not into scuba diving. I'm not that advanced, but I did the snorkeling, sort of the more pedestrian scuba diving. And I couldn't believe what the corals looked like. It really was upsetting. You know
what's
also...
so interesting? Sorry, Alex.
No, go for it, Catherine.
No, I was speaking to my girl group on WhatsApp earlier about the podcast, and about 5 of them out of 8 of us said, please speak about this. And I think that's so cool that, so many people are so passionate about the ocean. And I watched Seaspiracy a few months ago, and it really, really opened my eyes to what's going on behind the scenes. Sure, it's so interesting. And I'm so glad we're talking about this. It's so important.
Yeah, well, if you're not sure what we're talking about, if you've just tuned in, if you've been listening for a while and you can't remember what we spoke about early on, well, we're going to be talking about this seismic survey that is taking place on the Wild Coast in South Africa. There's been a lot going on social media, and I'm thrilled to be joined by the acting director at SeaWorld, Dr. Judy Mann, who probably knows more about the ocean than you and I know, Catherine, to give us some perspective on what's going on there. And maybe just to summarize as I bring Dr. Mann on. So Shell has a couple of years back gotten a license or permission to go ahead with the survey. And the survey, supposedly, or according to people in the space, could have a dramatic impact on nature, or specifically whales, dolphins, all of the animals that sort of live or habitat, sort of consider the wild coast their habitat, because of the seismic booms or the technology that is used to basically find out if there's gas or oil or something under the seabed. And this is now the big battle between this massive oil giant and residents, and I think a lot of people in South Africa who feel very passionate about that. So, Dr. Mann, have I tried to summarize that in very layman's terms? I don't know if I've kind of covered that very well.
Hello, X. Hello, Catherine. And yes, I think that you've basically got the idea of what's happening. And really, to start off with, seismic surveys are something that have been used around the world. And they're used to basically find out what is underneath the ocean. So they're looking through the water and into the seabed. And they're trying to find out what's there. They want to find out if there's oil or gas. And in order to do this, they use sound waves. So towed behind a ship are a whole lot of devices that are able to generate these enormous sounds, because, they've got to get all the way through the ocean and into the seabed. And then also behind these ships, they've got hydrophones that pick up the echo. And that echo and the refraction, or the reflection as it's called, of the sound waves tells them what's underneath the seabed. We can think of it a little bit like the way a dolphin echolocates. It sends out a sound pulse, and the echo that comes back tells the dolphin what's in its environment. And that gives us a clue about life in the ocean. On land, we use sight as our primary sensory cue to find our way around, most people. In the ocean, light doesn't travel and penetrate through water very well, but sound goes through water very, very well. So the ocean is an acoustic medium. Everything happens by sound in the ocean. Animals find their way around using sound. And that's why we're worried about these seismic surveys.
Well, Dr. Mann, maybe you can give us some perspective on this, because obviously there's the environmental groups right now who've gone to court, who've tried to get an interdict to stop this entire process. That was thrown out, and I think there's some additional legal matters that are now underway to try and see if there's another way of tackling this. But from a person's perspective who is in, the biology, the science of all of this, is there this dramatic impact on the animals, or is there a potential for a dramatic impact on the sea life, as a lot of these environmental groups are sort of painting pictures for us? I mean, there's videos, there's photos, there's all kinds of very disturbing content that's being put out there. What is the situation like?
So, as we imagine, trying to research this hasn't been particularly easy. And in the past, there wasn't a lot of evidence of incredible negative impacts. But increasingly more and more and more in recent years, we're starting to see the evidence coming out very clearly. Over the weekend, we spent time reading papers and papers and papers, and many of those, most of them are showing negative impact. And the impact is on things as small as the tiny plankton in the water, the baby fish, right the way through, all the way through turtles, squid, invertebrates like crabs, mussels, things like that, all the way through to whales and dolphins and fish. So we are seeing impacts, and there's increasing evidence. But something that's quite important is that the seismic survey is just the start. One of the things that we're really concerned is if they do find oil or gas, the extraction of that oil or gas along the wild coast. It's called the wild coast for a very good reason, because rushing down that coast, we have the Agulhas current. And this is one of the strongest boundary currents in the world. If you imagine the Amazon River, you times that volume by 300 and you move it incredibly fast down the coast. That's effectively what we've got. And that current doesn't just go north to south. It has meanders and eddies and wanders around. And it's into this environment that we're looking at trying to extract oil or gas. And that's something that really worries us. although apparently the risk is very low, we are really concerned about any attempts to remove oil or gas from the ocean floor in that particular area.
So that's obviously a secondary concern. So that's if they do find something, then we're having to deal with, putting an oil rig up, potential of another deep water horizon, or whatever the story is. I mean, we've had all the examples in history of things that can go wrong. They don't necessarily have to go wrong. And some of the Wild Coast, residents might not be particularly excited to be watching the oil fields at first light, I think, as Bono put it. So what is the reality for things like whales and dolphins and so on? I mean, do they stand a chance of potentially going deaf, leaving the area completely? I mean, there's talks of unrelated, the African jackass penguin potentially moving away from the areas of Simonstown up to Namibia because the sardine run is moving in a different direction because of climate change. So could something similar happen to the wildlife on the Wild Coast if they're chased away by some of this activity?
So when we think about the marine mammals, we need to remember, as I said earlier, that they use sound to navigate. They use sound to find their mates. They use sound to find their food. And by putting this kind of sound into the ocean 24 hours a day for 4 or 5 months is definitely going to impact their lives. There's no way around it. So either they're going to have to move away. We don't really know, because in many cases, the impacts could be sublethal. So just because something doesn't necessarily wash up dead, it doesn't necessarily mean there's been no impact. But if you imagine a smog in our visual world, this is effectively what we're doing into the world of the whales and dolphins that are using sound to find their way around, to navigate, find prey, find food, avoid predators, etc. So we're changing their environment, and we're changing it in a way that we really don't know exactly what the impact's going to be, but we know that there has to be some sort of an impact. And that's what scientists are busy studying now and learning more and more about it. And the more we learn, the more we realize the impact we are having.
I mean, it's such an untouched part of the country. I think normally when people go to South Africa, they go to Cape Town, they might go to the Eastern Cape, but the Wild Coast isn't sort of overrun with tourists, I think, at the best of times. So to suddenly have this kind of activity happening there must be almost of a magnitude you can't even imagine, because I think it's so untouched.
I think something that Catherine said at the start of this discussion was the fact that, I think was 8 out of your 10 ladies, or 5 out of your 8 ladies actually knew something about this. And to me, this is something that gives me enormous hope. The fact that so many thousands of people around the country have come together and said, firstly, I care about the ocean, and secondly, I care about the Wild Coast. The Wild Coast is an incredibly special area. Along that coastline, we've got amazing biodiversity. We've got a mixing zone of the warmer tropical waters and the cooler temperate waters. We've got lots of species that are not found anywhere else in the world. So it is a special area. And the fact that so many people are saying they care for the ocean, they care for the Wild Coast, to me is really, really important. And hopefully we can take that caring for the Wild Coast and caring for the ocean into our own lives. We all rely on oil and gas. We all rely on petrol for our cars. So we need to think about how can we lessen our reliance, and how can we be part of the solution?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about this. I mean, if these sort of natural resources were reinvested, like places like you'd find in Scandinavian countries, where they go into sort of almost like a sovereign wealth fund, and they cover things like schooling, university, hospitals, and I mean, they've got almost all of these things for free at a very high level. Would it justify going through this process? Or is it still too valuable to have these natural resources to even then say it's worth looking for oil and gas?
Very good question. My answer to that is really looking at the value of our environment. And I think that climate change has taught us a really good lesson. 30, 20 years ago, scientists were saying, we've got a problem. If we keep oil and gas and we keep using fossil fuels, we're going to have a serious climate problem. We thought about it for a while. People denied it. We had a lot of complications. We had all sorts of discussions about it. Now, 20, 30 years later, we've realized we actually have a serious problem. Let's not do the same thing with the ocean. We have a serious problem using fossil fuels. So it's beyond the money issue. Now it's a survival issue. We need our environment to stay alive as humans. It's an environmental issue more than just an issue about whether or not we're worried about dolphins. It's a much, much bigger issue. South Africa was at the COP, at the Conference of the Parties in Glasgow. We were there saying that we support the move to renewables, and we need to really stand up for that. Otherwise, it's not just the animals that are going to be really having problems. It's going to be human life. We're seeing that around the world.
Catherine, what are your friends saying in terms of this entire situation? I mean, you seem to have quite a few people who are quite in tune with what's going on.
Yeah, I think all of us are just so aware of the environment. And I think, we're young and it's so cool to see it. Like the young people are taking so much care in terms of like what's happening around us, because it's going to impact the rest of our lives and our children's lives. But Dr. Mann, I wanted to know, what can we do to kind of help all of this? Or what can I do? I think that's the only thing I'm having is I kind of feel helpless and kind of, where do I start to help, or how can I educate people on my social media? Yeah, please tell me anything I can do.
That's a really good question, Catherine. And I think that often the environmental movement is so overwhelming. People do feel, oh my goodness, what can I do? But each of us can play a role. So the first thing is really looking at our own consumption of fossil fuels. What can we do to decrease our reliance on fossil fuels? Supporting people that are looking at renewables. How can we really pressurize our government into looking more at renewables? And when it comes to this particular issue, there's a petition that people can sign online. And then, to me, really learning the facts. So there's obviously a lot of emotion around this, but I think that we need to stick to the facts. We need to understand what those facts are and then to share the facts as opposed to sharing just the hype.
I think that's a good point
so
to note it on. Dr. Judy Mann, thank you so much for joining us this evening and for being part of a conversation that I think will be with us for quite some time. I think we're not quite out of the woods yet with this particular situation, and going into December, I'm not sure how much or how little is still going to happen to either move this forward or stop it altogether. So we'll probably still chat in the new year, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Great to have you on. So,
Thank you so
Catherine,
much.
there you have it. There you have it. Yeah, I suppose there's still so much to talk about this particular topic and so much to go through. I suppose we're going to have to pick this up in the new year. I think we're going to have another look at this.
It's very important. Should be
Yeah.
something we always speak about. I think also everyone kind of forgets about all these things until something huge happens, and then everyone cares for a week, and then everyone forgets again. And I think it's all about staying consistent about caring about these things. Same with gender-based violence and all those other super important topics. It's consistency is key.
Yeah, it feels like we're being bombarded with every single thing at the moment. I think we've got almost like an overload. But Catherine, that's our episode for this week. If anyone wants to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za, connect with us on social media @Sandton Times, and visit www.sandtontimes.co.za. Don't forget to subscribe, share, leave a review or rating, and thanks for all the comments that did come through. If you were shy, that's fine as well. And I know a lot of people are also going to watch this delayed, so that could bring upon us a whole nother conversation that we'll pick up next week, Tuesday. I think same time, same place. Catherine, it's been absolutely fabulous having you on, and yeah, I think we did quite well for our first one.
Yes, I'm excited. This is only the beginning.
And
I mean, there's like no hiccups beside tech issues, which is so chilled. We can move past that.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, and if you watch this, there'll be a podcast as well, and there'll be some additional content in there for you as well. So if you want to listen to this, especially when you're doing a long drive now in December, I know some people are going to be driving to places, they want to listen to something in the car. Well, there'll be a package thing there for you as well. And then a special thank you to our producer, Jean Robertson. She's been working behind the scenes. She's been roping the guests together, making sure that we've got something to talk about tonight. And Jean, thank you so much. You've been an absolute rock star. Well done. And thank you to you for listening out there, for watching, and let's connect again next week.
Yes. Thank you, Alex.